So now we talk about Gana Kuta, and Gana means the temperament. And there's three types of temperaments. They're basically related to the gunas. Like most things that have to do with three in Vedic teaching, like anytime you see something that has to do with three, there's usually the three gunas involved. And so, Gana Kuta, we have the Rakshasa, Rakshasa Gana, which is loosely and not very flatteringly called the demonic one, the demon or the asura. Demon is not a really good word. It's actually more like an eccentric, individualized person, like a strong individual. And then we have the Manusha, or the human, and then we have the Deva, or the angelic temperament. Neither is better, even though the angel sounds better. The angelic temperament, just like in the Vedas, the Devas were always trying to keep everything the way it was, and the Rakshasas, or the Asuras, are always trying to shake things up. And much of our spiritual path is because we shake things up. Devas are very religious, but they're also very traditional and can be very stuck in their ways. So it's the high quality of Jupiter to be devoted, but again, we can be devoted without the willingness to question our beliefs. Like, that's what an Asura does. That's what the Rakshasa is. They shake things up because they're, but they also have a lot of individualized will, They get into battles because they want to get the power. They want to get the power quick. They're very related to the nodes. A good example of Asura energy or Rakshasa energy is like Rahu, which can lead to a lot of mysticism and insight, but not a lot of, not a lot of manners, so to speak. So the Rakshasa temperament is that kind of thing. Many people who do astrology and who are mystics and spiritual people have that seed principle in them to kind of disrupt things. And then the Manushas want to hold things together in form. The Manusha, it means human, so they're very much about practical things, and people, very much about relationship, and, wanting to, live a pleasant, stable, solid, happy life. Let's put it that way. And the Devas are more about, again, it can be like higher principles, but it's kind of like a sacrificial quality where they're looking at things in a more, you might say, a sattvic way, but again, it implies judgment that's really not necessarily there. It's just a temperament where they're more tolerant, more forgiving, more, in general, more just wanting there to be harmony, right? Manusha, like the difference between, let's say, a Deva and a Manusha. A Manusha will create disharmony if it's going to be for the better, be for the good of the people, for instance. Deva might try to just make everybody happy, even if making everybody happy is the wrong thing, for instance. As an example, you have to look at these things, and again, they're subtle temperaments. They don't mean, you got to be careful not to make too much out of it. And this is always what happens. Like, for instance, mine is Vishaka, which is a Rakshasa, But I'm one of the most devoted people you'd ever meet. When I'm around my guru or whatever, I'm so devoted, it's just, But, and I know a lot of Devas, where it's like, to some extent, they're very, there's a subtle, there's a feeling around it. It's like it's like an angelic presence. But it's on an intimate level, you can feel that, right? It's not like a driving force in the person's life. It's like a feeling, the temperament. So again, a demonic temperament sounds crazy, but it's also the temperament that has a lot of courage and a lot of, enthusiasm and passion. And an angelic temperament, it's very beautiful, but it can also be kind of spacey and sort of disconnected. This is one of the qualities of the Deva temperament that I've definitely noticed. One of the problems of the Deva temperament too is they might want to make everything make harmony in the moment, but then sort of check out. It's a problem. One of the problems with the Sattva Guna by the way, is like to just kind of rise above things without getting down and working things out. One of the good things about the Asura temperament is they'll get in there and work with you and get into the battle with you. They're not going to run away because it's a difficult battle, for instance. They'll stay engaged. Now, part of it is because they want to win, so some of the motivations are a little corrupt at times. But, you know, the Deva in the moment might, you know, want to give in to like the willfulness of the Asura. But the Asura is actually maybe authentic and really honest. And the Deva might just, because that's their temperament, want to just kind of make peace in the moment right now. But then they go away and then you never hear from them again. Because in their mind they're like, oh, that was just too difficult. I need to be in this beautiful space where nobody ever speaks harshly to anybody else. Or, you know, some other kind of thing. You got to be really vigilant about not judging things. None of these are judgments. And, you know, the minutia is kind of in the middle. They're just more kind of like peaceful. And they want to try, you know, their temperament is more about being with people and holding things together. So, one of the best, you know, the best is when you have the same Gana. Now, this one gives 6 points. Usually, I see it 6. Sometimes I see 5, but it's usually 6. And when it's the same Gana, 2 Manushas, 2 Devas, 2 Rakshasas, then 6 points are given. The best is to have that matching. Now, see, now we're getting into where we want it to be different at times, like we want a different nadi, but we want the Gana to match as much as possible. We want that same temperament, right? So it's interesting. Then, if the woman is the Deva and the man is the Manusha, so the Deva there is a hierarchy of what's higher, what's a higher temperament. So if the woman is the Deva and the man is the Manusha, which is one down from it, then 3 points are given. If the woman is the Deva and the man is the Rakshasa, then 1 point is given. Right? So that's not so good. Then if the woman is a Manusha and the man is the Deva, so woman is a Manusha and man is a Deva, 5 points are given. If a woman is Manusha and man is Rakshasa, then 3 points are given. So woman is the Manusha or the human and the man is the demon, then 3 points are given. The only one that gives 0 points is if the woman is the Rakshasa and the man is anything else, then 0 points are given. So this is the thing to take away from the Gana that's very important, especially to women. It's probably most of you, because most women who are interested in astrology are demons. And it delights me to no end to tell you that. If you're listening to this, you're probably a demon. And this is probably the biggest problem why you push men away. I'm sorry. Is woman with the Rakshasa Gana can only be in a relationship with a man who is also a Rakshasa. And the reason is because, for lack of a politically correct way to say it, they call you on your shit. Yeah, I said that. And when a man is the weaker one, and again, weaker doesn't mean better, it just means more peaceful or less or more disturbed by your intensity and your desire to want to win and all that. If a man is a Manusha or a man is a Deva, then your Rakshasa nature is going to make you lose respect for him or think, oh, why are men such wimps, or this kind of thing where it's also just going to repel him because, well, there's a lot of reasons, but just the masculine-feminine flow. Again, we see this principle affirmed again. It's the same thing about the Sri Dirg and the woman's energy getting to the man. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that the woman is, is a bad person or anything like that. It's just a temperament. And so a lot of women, of course, who study things like astrology and whatnot, you're looking for your own answers and you're individual and you have a lot of self-will, very strong-willed. And it's why women say, why are men wimps and they can't handle a strong woman and all. But then what happens is when a man can handle the strong woman and the men do give it back, then the woman, often what typically happens is then women are like, oh, you're mean, you're abusive. Then the man is abusive when he's just kind of standing up to the woman who is a handful. So this is kind of the dynamic. When the woman has the Rakshasa nature, it doesn't mean they wind up with men like that. But as seen in this temperament, when the woman has Gana and the man has anything, when the woman has Rakshasha and the man has anything else, 0 points are given. That's the only time. So the second worst is when the woman is Deva and the man is Manusha. I wind up with that one a lot because I have the, I'm sorry, and the man is Rakshasha because I have the Rakshasha and I often wind up with the Devas. At least I used to. Then the eccentric nature of the man, you know, disturbs the Deva nature of the woman. And so the example that I gave you is one that does come from experience, where I know this about the Deva temperament, is they want things to be peaceful and they don't like conflict. So you might be very intense. And again, you know, the Gana, the temperament, it's just a temperament. It's not a judgment, you know. That the Rakshasha, if they're going to be involved with something, you know, one thing about Rakshasha temperament is it's very sincere, like it's real. They choose their battles wisely. They look at things that they're focused on and then they're very intense about it. So you know that you're dealing with the sincerity with the person. There's a lot of intensity and sincerity about that temperament. The other ones are too, but you can definitely see more like cross purposes and shiftiness in some of the other temperaments, especially in the Deva temperament. It's one of the issues with the Deva temperament is that, like, trying to be peaceful but then just kind of disappearing, and like the way they can cope, the way they cope, like if they're married to a Rakshasha, is not be able to handle the intensity. So there can be quite a bit of judgment in that Gana. Anything that's related to, you know, sattva can turn into judgment really quickly. It can, because there's a desire for peace and harmony, and it can turn into judgment really quickly. Oh, you're just not peaceful as me. You're not as harmonious as me. Again, it's a virtue. This is why it's best to get the Gana matching. It's best to get the Gana matching, and when they're not, there are different variations on what works, except if the woman is Rakshasha and the man is anything else, it's 0 points. And again, this affirms the principle that we can go back to from the very beginning. This is why I said, as we go through this, you're going to see these principles keep being affirmed over and over again, of the man being in the initiating role, the man being more of the aggressive one, and the woman being the one in the receptive role. Because you can see it here, if the woman is the one who is the intense one, and the man is anything else, 0 points are given. So it really affirms that masculine-feminine exchange. You know, if the man is intense and the woman even has a Deva, then there's still 1 point that's gleaned. I remember a couple times in my life where I actually had some very good connections with Deva women. It really wasn't, that wasn't the part that messed up. It was actually parts in our life where we just weren't in alignment, but it wasn't as big a problem. And one of the things about the Rakshashas is they're often into things like spirituality and astrology and, you know, all kinds of mystical practices. And a Rakshasha man, Rakshasha woman are often leading their partners in those things, because Rakshashas look for alternative answers. So again, when it's the woman leading the man into that thing, it doesn't work so well, because women are looking to follow the man. Again, liberated women, chill out. It just means that you want to respect the man as someone who has the courage to seek alternative answers and stuff like that. If the woman is a Rakshasha where she's looking for those kind of alternative answers, and the man is like a Manusha who just wants to maintain a stable family and home and be happy, that's kind of the Manusha mentality, or something like that in the relationship. I'll do anything just to make you happy, okay? That's kind of the Manusha thing. The Rakshasha's like, well, if you're just trying to make me happy because you don't have the courage to stand up for yourself, then that's disgusting. You know, and the Deva is like, oh, everything just should be nice. I need to go disappear now into my world of nice and, you know, watch Disney movies or something, right? So, trying to give you an idea of how these temperaments play out. It's a very important one, very important. Particularly when the woman is Rakshasha and the man something else. And when the man is Rakshasha and the woman is Deva, it's a little harder. Manusha is not as difficult. So, very interesting. Gana Kuta.